How do we make decisions about our society and environment when we don't know what might happen in the future and it is difficult to predict the actions of those around us? Hello friends, and welcome to the third part of this video series where we talk about the complexities of environmental problems. And in this video, we are going to talk about uncertainties in decision making and the role of information and trust in tackling them. There can be multiple sources of uncertainty in our decision-making systems. For example, uncertainties arise when new things are added to the system, like when we are working with a new partner, a new institution, or a new technology. Something with which we have never worked before, and it becomes difficult for us to predict how things might go as they fall outside our normal patterns of working and the circumstances that we are used to. Uncertainties also arise when there are unexpected changes made to the system, for example, in the form of unexpected events like natural disasters or disease outbreaks. Events that force us to make sudden changes in the way our system is organized, like changing our governing rules, changing how we allocate goods and services, or changing the way in which we disseminate information. Or, uncertainties may occur because our system is inherently complex. That is, there are so many interconnected things that it becomes difficult for us to tell what actions will affect which people. Or there are so many things happening simultaneously that it goes beyond our capability to process all the information and draw inferences that will help us make reasonable decisions for everyone in the system. So, how do we respond to uncertainties? How can we work together in our governance systems to appropriately manage our uncertainties and make suitable decisions for the people involved in our system? A simple way of managing uncertainties is to characterize them according to what we know and do not know within our system by classifying the current knowledge about our system into a known-unknown matrix. The top left quadrant in the matrix constitutes the things we know. This could represent the existing information in the system, like the number and types of stakeholders involved and their current behavioral patterns, values, and beliefs. Or information about the external environment, like the resources available and the costs associated with them, or the existing rules and legal framework of the system. This is the information that is easy to collect and we have high control over, and therefore our task here becomes to mobilize the existing information that can help us make more informed decisions in the system. The top right quadrant constitutes the things we know we don't know. These are the areas we know we have to collect more information on in order to make better governance decisions. This could be information related to the problems we have already identified in the system. For example, suppose we have the problem of food insecurity in our system. Collecting more information about how much food is produced, how it gets distributed, how much is consumed, and how much gets wasted can help us determine how to change our existing supply chain networks to make the food reach to places where it is more needed. Or suppose we have identified the problem of traffic congestion in our system, we can gather more information about the commute behavior of our people or alternative routes in the area to redirect traffic in a way that helps reduce congestion at certain points. The bottom part of the matrix is where things become interesting. The bottom left quadrant represents the things we don't know we know. Let me repeat that for a moment. Things that we don't know, we know. But how can we not be aware of the things that we actually know? This is because we have internalized this knowledge to the extent that we no longer pay attention to when we are using it. And it reflects in the form of assumptions, implicit values and norms, or the tacit knowledge that influence our behavior or the decisions we might take in certain situations. It could also reflect in the form of cognitive biases that prevent us from behaving in a perfectly rational way while making decisions. So, how can we, as well-meaning individuals, act towards recognizing these assumptions and biases in order to make decisions that are best for our community? One way is to start by initiating dialogue with people who are different from us. When we listen to and learn from people who have a different cultural or social history or a different value system from us, it allows us to reflect on our own values, assumptions, and biases, or the things that we take for granted. Finally, the bottom right quadrant represents the things that we don't know, These are the true surprises of the system. That is, there is no way for us to find out what's going to happen, which makes it very difficult to manage uncertainties here. For the unknown unknowns, we do not know enough to ask the right questions or identify the knowledge gaps in our system where we might need more information. Therefore, in order to make decisions in these situations, an appropriate response would be to shift our focus towards bringing people together and building community resilience. We need to work on strengthening our community bonds and building relationships that are based on trust and accountability. So, we have learned that managing uncertainties in environmental decision making often requires a mix of different strategies depending on how much we know or can know about a system. And despite our best efforts in managing uncertainties, mistakes often happen, and that is why it is also important to invest in human relationships that help maintain feelings of trust and empathy in the system.